And on a completely gut level, the first time I ever did a play, a school play, when I was 13 years old, it was Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, and I had a minor part where I died near the end of it, and when I flopped over dead, my wig came off. And I didn't stay dead. I reached around, picked up the wig, put it back on, and died again, and the audience went nuts. They thought it was funny, and they applauded. And I thought, oh, that felt good. So you want to do that again and again and again.
That's funny. But again, why did you feel, why weren't they giving you the, it said like, fits, fears, and rage plagued you and your brothers, yet the outside world wished they could be you, and they felt you were living happily ever after, and you felt that you somehow, with all these advantages that you had, that you were kind of making a mess out of your life.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does look that way. It's a hard thing to explain when you're, just because your parents are high profile and your grandfather was president of the United States does not free you from having issues, does not free you from having problems, does not free you from likes and dislikes. We're the same as anybody else, and in my grandfather's case, we were not the Truman and Daniel families have not been multimillionaires, have not been able to just sit around and do nothing. We've all had to work, so we're not not very far removed from anybody else, if at all. And as I said, my grandfather and my parents tried very hard to make sure our lives were very normal. Yet at the same time, you had this notoriety, this fame that came with it, which is a very weird thing. Being known, having your family known, having people know your history, having people know your background. Even sitting here with you and having you read back to me what I wrote 12 years ago is very odd. Your life is a bit more public than you're sometimes ready for. So it makes for an odd mix.
When you wrote this book, there was a lot of stuff that you told about yourself and the situations that you got into, and the some of the drinking that went on. And this goes on in colleges all the time. Lots of drinking, and you worry about it afterwards for your children. But what happened after you wrote this book? What was the response of your mother? Because I can imagine what I would have felt like after I would read a book like this after my kids, would write a book. And did she realize what you were going through? Did she have any idea until she read this book?
We never talked about it. My father served as sort of an adjunct editor on the book. That was the deal we struck. If I was going to write about the family, is that he would sort of back me up in fact-checking. So he got chapters as I finished them and looked at them, and as I recall, did not change very much. And I wasn't out to make it a tell-all or a roast of my parents. It was more or less, it was actually, the idea for the book actually had to be handed to me by the agent, because I couldn't see clearly what I was going to do with it at the time. I just had the notion that I was going to write something about my family and about my experience in the family, which was really all I could do at that point in my mid-20s. So the idea, the form of the book came from outside. So Dad just kind of read chapters as I finished them, and he would call up occasionally, or he'd make a note and say, I don't remember it happening quite that way, and then we'd look at it again. And Mom just sort of watched it evolve from there. I don't remember that she had any problem with it. She never said that she was upset. She may have been less than thrilled that any of it came out, that there wasn't a perfect family lurking in there somewhere. But it didn't cause any rift.
Because I think people that you see famous people, you think, oh my God, I wish I could be them. They look at them, they live happily ever after. And here there's all kinds of things going on. And I was just kind of surprised that your mother, was she surprised at some of the things? Or did she ever deny, oh, that wasn't me, oh, you're just imagining it? Or
no.
She just went along with it?
No, never said anything about that to me. I don't know what she was telling everybody else, but she never said anything to me, gave any interviews that indicated to me that she took serious issue with anything that I'd written. And again, after all, that's my life, my take on it, not hers. So she understood that, I think.
Now, you wrote the book. How old were you when you wrote the book? How many years ago was that?
Oh, Lord. I think I was probably 35, 36 years old.
So that was your...
15, 20, I'm 52 now.
So do you see something different in your life? Because at that time you said you don't feel you would be good enough, smart enough, and that was something that your brother Thomas felt as well. You said in the book that not being good enough, smart enough, or be able to support your family, that was something that was plaguing, as children, both of you felt that would maybe happening in your lives. And you also said that being Harry Truman's grandson was the best part of you. So maybe you could talk a little bit.
No, that I don't think that's true anymore. I've come to, with time, and all of this, when you're reading all of this back to me, some of this is like, God, why did I even bother with any of that? And I think it's just because time has gone by and I don't think about it anymore and I don't worry about it. And I work for the Truman Library, I work for Truman College, I write about my grandparents, I enjoy it. I enjoy doing research about my grandparents. I think that not only was my grandfather a great president, but they were also fun people to know and an interesting subject. And I don't have any of that residual resentment left over about this. To me, it just presents a lot of fun, a good project, a good writing project.
So it seems like you maybe grew out of this, part of your life. It was something that you really wanted to share, and also being. We have a little bit of time. What was it like for your mother to be Margaret Truman? What was that for her? She was an only child? How was that for her?
I imagine, from what she's told me, it could be exhilarating. It could also be a pain. You're the only child of a president of the United States. You're in the spotlight all the time. She got to the point later in life that she retreated from quite a bit of that just because she'd had years of it. She'd had enough.
Yeah, I see your mom and her mother
and that was, I think, that looks like when he was still a senator. She looks a little younger. She was 21 when he became president. Right. She turned 21 on February 17th, 1945. And he became president that April.
Well, it was. You have a family of your own now, and you have 3 kids, and you're now at the Truman Library. You're also very active with the library, your grandfather's library, which I hope that I can go this summer. I'm looking forward to. I'm going to Independence to the library.
Oh,
and
great!
I really want to see the.
Tell me when, so they're nice to you.
So they're nice to me.
Yeah.
And Clifton, we have so much more to talk about, and it looks like my credits are going up on my TV show. And I want to thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed, and I think the studio audience really want to hear about. I think this very thing, because people really never know what happens to the children and grandchildren of our famous people. And I think this was an excellent interview that you gave, and I do invite you back on the show.
Thank you.
And there's much more that we can talk about. And I really hope that everybody else, it's time, go to the library, go to the Harry S. Truman Library, and really get to know about what's going on in the world. And your grandfather was an amazing president, and a lot of his things today are finally coming to pasture. And especially he was one of the first with health care, which is something that we don't talk
Which
about.
we're still working on.
Yes.